welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling, well, it's one of the most demanding ideas you could wrestle with from theology, really. This concept of defending the Almighty.
Yeah, that phrase we found, Preeti, it captures it perfectly. It's this whole challenge of asserting God's absolute sovereignty, the idea that God just cannot possibly do wrong.
Right, and that's really the core, isn't it? The gravitational pull, like you said, of this whole discussion.
Yeah.
It comes out of reflecting on the book of Job, chapters 34 and 35.
Exactly, and if you boil it right down, it hangs on Job 34, verse 10. God will not act wickedly, the Almighty will not do wrong. That's the starting point, non-negotiable.
When you put it like that, you realize it's not just, a spiritual chat. We're actually bumping up against what used to be called the ultimate science.
Theology as the queen of sciences.
Yeah, why such a grand title? Seems a bit intimidating.
Well, because it aims for the highest knowledge, possible knowledge of God himself. So, intellectually speaking, that makes it the most important field of study. But, and here's the big but, you're immediately faced with this tension. You're trying to know the unknowable and that difficulty. We can't just brush it aside.
And Scripture itself points this out, doesn't it? Like in Romans 11, talking about the depths of God's wisdom and knowledge, his judgments being unsearchable.
Totally. How can our finite minds even start to, analyze that?
It's humbling, for sure.
It is. But thankfully, we're not left completely in the dark, are we? God has revealed himself. Step by step, you could say.
How do you mean?
Well, through creation, for one, the order in the universe, then through his providence, how he guides history, through Scripture, his written word, and then most completely, most fully in Jesus Christ. The real challenge isn't that God hasn't revealed things, it's how our limited human minds take it all in, or don't take it in correctly.
So, for you listening, if you're trying to piece together complex ideas about faith or doctrine or why God acts a certain way, you're taking on this huge intellectual task.
You really are.
And if you approach it with the wrong mindset, boom, you hit a major trap right away.
That's it. The first big pitfall, intellectual idolatry, and the false certainty that often comes with it.
Now, when people hear idolatry, they usually picture, a statue, a golden calf, something physical you bow down to instead of God.
Yeah, that's the common image, but the sources we looked at point to something maybe more insidious, more internal.
Okay.
Pastor Tashu's definition really nails it. He says the essence of idolatry is accepting realities unworthy of God when thinking about him.
Wow. Okay, unpack that a bit.
It means it's not about the physical object. It's about mentally shrinking God down to fit your understanding, your philosophy, your politics, your idea of what's fair.
So anytime we think, well, God must do this or he wouldn't allow that, based on our own logic, we're kind of creating an idol of our own reasoning.
You're potentially engaging in intellectual idolatry, yes.
Yeah.
You're prioritizing your own mental construct over God's revealed nature, which might be far bigger and stranger than you're comfortable.
That's quite a warning.
It is, and it means if you're going to step into this arena trying to explain or defend God, your attitude has to be one of genuine humility, like a worshiper.
Right.
The source material really hammers this home, connecting it straight to 1 Corinthians 8.1, knowledge puffs up, but love builds up.
Yeah.
Without that love, that humility, pursuing knowledge about God just inflates your ego. It makes you a worse theologian, not a better one, ironically.
And we see this kind of danger play out in Job, right? With Elihu.
We do. He's the younger guy who jumps into the debate after Job's older friends have run out of steam.
And let's be honest, sometimes reading his speeches, you kind of feel like, okay, get to the point.
Yeah.
It can seem a bit long-winded.
He definitely takes his time, and he keeps saying, listen carefully, which suggests he thinks he's got the key insight everyone else missed. He might sound a bit cocky, but the theological role of his speeches is crucial. He keeps dragging the conversation back to one core theme, God's absolute sovereignty and justice, which Job has questioned, and the friends have just completely mangled.
So he's trying to recenter the debate on that non-negotiable truth. God is sovereign, God cannot mess up.
Exactly. Even Job's suffering, which seems so random and cruel from a human perspective, must somehow operate within that divine plan.
And this connects to that detail the source highlighted about Satan.
Yes, that's such a key point. Even Satan's actions, the terrible things he does to Job at the start, are explicitly limited by God. God sets boundaries, God gives permission, but only so far.
So it's not just background detail, it's showing sovereignty in action.
Precisely. If God allows something awful, like Job losing everything, it's not because God wasn't paying attention or couldn't stop it. It's because even that event, maybe initiated by a hostile force, serves some purpose within God's bigger, often incomprehensible plan.
Okay. That really does change how you read the whole interaction.
It does, because it means even when God is silent in the story, before he speaks at the end, he's never absent. His knowledge covers everything: Job's pain, the friend's bad advice, Elihu's arguments. That detail about limiting Satan is the constant reminder. Our analysis has to start and end by acknowledging God's total control, even when we really don't like how things look.
Which brings us back to humility. Okay, so that sets the stage. Now, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about the challenge for you, the learner. You get inspired by these big ideas, but how do you actually start studying this stuff without falling into what the sources called the learner's trap?
Ah, the learner's trap. Yeah, that's basically the temptation to skip the basics. It's that intellectual vanity, maybe? Thinking you need to tackle the most complicated theories right out of the gate to prove something.
And there was the great story, the anecdote about the newly baptized guy.
Oh yeah. He's just converted, super enthusiastic, joins an introductory class. The pastor asks him which 2 books of the Bible he's decided to really focus on first.
And he proudly says,
Genesis and Revelation.
wow, the beginning and the end, creation, apocalypse,
Yeah.
the biggest mysteries.
Exactly, the whole cosmic drama. And you can imagine the pastor's reaction wasn't, wow, impressive. It was more like gentle concern.
Why? I mean, they're important books.
Hugely important, but the man chose them because he heard they were the most difficult. He wasn't thinking about building a foundation, he was thinking about academic street cred almost.
Okay, I see. So what's the actual problem with starting there?
Well, Genesis and Revelation deal with incredibly profound, complex, often symbolic stuff, high-level theology. You need a lot of context to even begin to understand them properly.
So for a beginner, it's like...
It's like trying to do advanced calculus before you've even learned to add and subtract properly.
Right.
What a new believer, or really any beginner in a complex field, needs is the foundational stuff. For faith, that's the Gospels, the actual story of Jesus. It's Paul's letters, like Romans, that lay out the basic doctrines. It's the Psalms, which teach you how to talk to God, how to worship, how to express all those emotions.
They teach you the how and why of living the faith day to day. They build the frame.
Exactly, they build the scaffolding. Much more useful starting points than diving into, say, deep eschatological debates just because they sound intellectual or challenging.
So the takeaway for you, the learner, is pretty clear then.
Yeah. Understanding God's will, growing in faith, it's a developmental process. It takes time. It requires maturity built on solid foundations. It's not about collecting obscure facts or degrees to impress people.
Trying to shortcut that process.
It usually leads to a really shaky, lopsided understanding, something that might just fall apart when life throws real challenges at you.
And that connects perfectly to the challenge of learning today, doesn't it? We're swimming in information, but maybe drowning in a lack of structure.
Absolutely. Which is why the sources stress the difference between, say, unsystematic preaching and systematic learning.
Explain that difference a bit.
Well, preaching is vital, obviously, but often it's responding to the moment, right? To a current event, a specific need in the congregation. It's often thematic, maybe inspirational, but not necessarily structured to build knowledge block by block.
It can feel like getting, I don't know, a really interesting puzzle piece each week, but you never quite see the picture on the box lid.
That's a great way to put it. Systematic teaching, though, aims to give you that box lid. Think of structured adult Sunday school classes, or maybe a course that walks you through a whole book of the Bible, chapter by chapter, or studies that tackle specific doctrines systematically.
So it provides the blueprint, the structure.
Right. It helps you research, study, and understand a topic in a focused way, maybe chronologically or thematically, but with a plan.
And you're saying this kind of systematic approach is more crucial now than ever?
I think so. Because look at how we get information now. Random YouTube videos, bits and pieces from social media, spiritual sound bites, it's also fragmented. If that's your only input, you'll inevitably end up with that skewed patchwork understanding we talked about.
You can't build a solid house with just random scraps you find lying around.
Exactly. A systematic approach helps ensure you cover the core essentials, not just the bits that grab your attention or happen to be trending online this week. It forces a kind of balance. It prevents you from getting a really lopsided view of God.
Okay, so systematic learning, foundational humility. Let's bring this all back home to where we started. The book of Job.
Right. The story is about this righteous man suffering, and our natural instinct is to focus on Job's pain. We want to know why it happened to him.
Makes sense.
But the source material offered this really powerful interpretation. Maybe the primary audience for Job's suffering wasn't even Job himself. Maybe it was mainly for us, the observers.
Wow. So God uses this extreme example, a righteous man going through hell, to teach us something.
To teach us humility, true, deep humility.
How does that work?
Because we are the ones, like Job's friends, who often rush in with our own subjective ideas. We think we know the rules of how God operates, and so we feel qualified to judge other people's situations, maybe even blame them for their suffering.
We apply our neat little human logic to these huge cosmic divine actions.
Precisely, and that's where the story forces humility on us. The ultimate goal isn't just for Job to learn something, it's for us to become truly teachable, to resist that urge toward self-righteousness.
So Job's story is God acting as the teacher.
Yes, God steps in at the end, corrects Job, corrects the friends, and by extension, corrects us.
Pointing out what they got right, what they missed.
And what was just fundamentally wrong in their finite understanding.
And ours too.
God's sovereignty guarantees He'll instruct us eventually, in His own way, His own time.
Showing us where our judgments went too far and where our knowledge just wasn't enough.
This has been quite a deep dive, actually. We've covered a lot. Theology is this demanding queen of sciences. The absolute need for humility to avoid that intellectual idolatry trap when we talk about God's sovereignty.
And how vital foundational knowledge is for any learner rather than just chasing complex theories too early.
It really does all seem to boil down to one thing, doesn't it?
A willingness to be corrected. To accept that there's a knowledge base out there infinitely greater than our own.
Okay, so here's the final thought for you, the listener, to really chew on. If God sometimes allows challenges, even suffering, in other people's lives, partly to teach us humility, to teach us to accept His correction.
Then what specific area of your own life, or maybe your own settled understanding of things, that cherished idea you hold, have you been maybe stubbornly resisting correction on? Where have you been assuming your own perspective, your own subjective view was completely sufficient?
Go back to that idea of intellectual idolatry.
Yeah. Where might you be subtly shrinking the Almighty down to fit into your neat, comfortable little box? Something to ponder as you continue trying to deepen your understanding.